So hello, today we'll continue with the discussion on the type of heat exchangers. We have already discussed about the various types of heat exchangers like the shell and tube type heat exchanger in the previous class. So this will be the 18th class on heat transfer. Okay, so I have already explained the construction of the shell and tube type of heat exchanger in the previous class. Now in this class, we'll study a new type of exchanger. Okay, that is widely used. That is the pit and frame type of heat exchanger. It is pit and frame. So this pit and frame type of heat exchanger, it consists of a series of plates. Okay, and between them there are flat flow passages, and the hot and the cold fluids, they flow in alternate passages, and thus each cold fluid stream is surrounded by two hot fluid streams. Okay, I will show you the figure. So see this over here, this is a plate and frame type of heat exchanger. So these are the plates you can see over here. These are the plates. Okay, now this potholes and gaskets over here, these allow the fluid to flow in the alternative channels, the hot and cold fluids, and these are the nozzles which allow for the entry and exit of the fluids. Okay, so this is the construction of a plate type of heat exchanger. You can see over here the diagram. Now the hot and cold fluids, they flow in alternative passages. Hot fluid and cold fluid, it flow in alternative passages. So each type suppose hot fluid, it is surrounded by two cold fluids, and it results in a very effective heat transfer. Okay, now we can increase the heat transfer rate by increasing the number of plates. Okay, so these are very suitable for liquid to liquid heat exchange applications, and the condition is that both the fluid types, the hot and cold fluid, should be at the same pressure. Okay, so this can be used where there is a large amount of heat transfer application are required. So now we'll discuss about, so this is the basic thing about the pit and frame type of heat exchanger or plate heat exchangers. Okay, now we'll discuss about another type of heat exchanger that is known as the regenerative type of heat exchangers. So this type of heat exchanger involves the alternate passage of hot and cold fluid streams through the same flow area. So alternate passage of hot and cold fluid streams through the same flow area. Now this regenerative heat exchanger can be divided into two types. One is the static type. Okay, so in the static type is actually there is a porous mass. Okay, that has a large heat transfer heat storage capacity. There is a porous mass that has a high heat storage capacity. such as a ceramic wire mesh. So hot and cold fluids flow through this porous mass alternatively, okay? And heat is transferred from the hot fluid to the matrix of the regenerator, okay, during the flow of the hot fluid. So heat is transferred from hot fluid to the porous mass. Hot fluid to the matrix, the ceramic wire matrix, during the flow of the hot fluid, okay, and from the matrix to the cold fluid, from matrix to the cold fluid during the flow of the cold fluid. So this matrix, it serves as the alternative, this matrix, which serves as a temporary heat storage medium. It serves as the temporary heat storage medium. So the another type of this regenerative heat exchanger is the dynamic type. So the second type is dynamic type. So this involves a rotating drum and continuous flow of hot and cold fluid through the different portions of the drum. So see over here, this is the figure of a static type regenerative heat exchanger. Okay, so this is the mesh which I was talking about. This one, the ceramic mesh. So you can see that this is static, and the heat is transferred through this mesh. Okay, and there is the dynamic type of heat exchanger. It consists of a rotating drum, and there is continuous flow of hot and cold fluid through the different portions of the drum, so that any portion of the drum passes periodically through the hot stream, storing heat, and then through the cold stream, rejecting this stored heat. Okay, now see over here this diagram. So this is a rotating drum. You can see this inside section of this rotating drum. Okay, and this is used for the transfer of heat. So there is continuous flow of hot and cold fluids. Through the different portions of the drum. Okay, so this drum, when it passes through the hot stream, it takes up the heat. Okay, and when this drum passes through the cold stream, that portion of the drum passes through the cold stream, it rejects the stored heat that it has gained when it had come in contact with the hot stream. So basically this drum, the rotating drum, it serves as a medium. It serves as a medium to transport heat from hot to cold fluid stream. So this is about the dynamic type of regenerative heat exchangers. Okay, now this type of heat exchangers are given different specific names for different applications for which they are used. For example, that condenser, you have heard about that condenser which is used in a thermal power plant circuit. This condenser is also a type of heat exchanger, where what happens is that one of the fluids is being cooled and it condenses as it flows through this heat exchanger. So here the fluid is cooled and condensed. Another type is the boiler. Boiler is also a heat exchanger. Okay, where the fluid absorbs heat and vaporizes. Fluid absorbs heat. Okay, and here it releases heat. In the condenser it releases heat and get condensed. Another type is heat exchanger is the space radiator. Okay, it transfers heat from the hot fluid to the surrounding space. To the surrounding space. Now we'll read about this term, this overall heat exchanger heat transfer coefficient. I've already said this, briefly described this term, that we take this into consideration where there is heat transfer by both conduction and also by convection. Okay, so this heat exchanger, it involves two types of fluids, that is the hot and the cold fluid, that is separated by a wall, a solid wall. So this heat is transferred from the hot fluid to the wall first by convection, and through the wall by conduction, and again from the wall to the cold fluid by convection. Okay, so convection takes place, heat transfer usually in fluids and liquids, and conduction in solids. So the effects of radiation are also included in this convection heat transfer coefficient. Okay, so you already know about this thing, this overall heat transfer coefficient. I have did it in previous lectures. Now we will see that for a double pipe heat exchanger. Okay, for a double pipe heat exchanger, so having two diameters, suppose this outside diameter, so I am not, this will go through the center. Okay, so this is DO. So here AI will be pi di into L. So this is the inside area. So this is, we will see this is perpendicular. Okay, so this inside curved surface area for this inside cylinder will be 2 pi RL. So 2R will be equal to di. So pi DIL. This will be the curved surface area for the inner cylinder. And for the outer cylinder, it will be pi DO into L. Imagine this as a cylinder, okay, having length of L. This length will be L. So the thermal resistance of the tube wall thermal resistance of the tube wall ln do by di by 2 pi kl. So this you know this notations. This K is the thermal conductivity and L is the length of the cylinder. So the total thermal resistance so this is the conductance resistance of the wall. So total resistance will be R total Ri, that is resistance, that is convection resistance from the fluid to the wall, plus this R wall, this conduction resistance of this wall, this one, and the resistance, the convection resistance from the fluid to the outside wall. Now this Ri will be 1 by HIAI. So HI is this convective heat transfer coefficient plus ln this thing plus 1 by HO AO. So AI is the inner surface area and AO is the outer surface area. Okay, now in the analysis of this heat exchangers, we will combine all this thermal resistance in the path of heat flow from the hot fluid to the cold one into a single resistance R. Okay, and to express this rate of heat transfer between the two fluids, that Q is equal to delta T by R, thermal temperature difference by resistance, and this will be U. This is the overall heat transfer coefficient A into delta T. So you can write also this as UI AI into delta T. Into delta T. So this U is the overall heat transfer coefficient. Okay, and its unit is watt per meter square per degree centigrade. And it is identical to the unit of the convection coefficient, that is H. It is identical to the convection coefficient H. Its unit is identical to the convection coefficient H. Now for this heat exchanger, so you can see that there are two overall heat transfer coefficients, UI and U naught, for this type of heat exchanger. Okay, so why there are two types of overall heat transfer coefficient? Because there are two surface areas, the outside and the inner surface area, outside and the inner curved surface area. So we will have two overall heat transfer coefficient because there are two areas, AI and A naught or AO, and these two are not equal to each other. Now UI into AI is equal to UO into AO. So from here you can see that the overall heat transfer coefficient, is only valid when the surface area the surface area on which this heat exchanger is based is specified, only then the entity U will be valid. So this type of cases is valid more during when one side of the heat exchanger, one side of the wall of the heat exchanger is finned. So due to this fins, the surface area increases greatly, and on the other side the surface area is not so much large. Okay, so we have to accordingly find this overall heat transfer coefficient according to which side we are considering. So now see here that when we consider a wall which is usually very thin, that the thickness can be neglected, and the thermal conductivity, that is K, of the tube material is very high. The thermal conductivity of this tube material is very high and the thickness of this wall is very thin. Okay, usually in usual cases, so we can say that the thermal resistance of the tube can be neglected as it is very thin. So R wall equals to 0 because this value of K is very high and thickness is negligible, so we can neglect this entity. This will be very close to 0, so we can neglect this entity. Now when this thickness is very less, the inner and outer surfaces, they are almost identical. We can assume them to be almost identical. That is, AI is identical to A naught. Okay, and we will assume that as equal to AS. So this overall heat transfer coefficient, this equation over here, it gets simplified. Okay, and it becomes, so see now, this 1 by H naught A naught. Now we have already neglected this R wall. So 1 by U AS. Now AS is equal to AI is equal to AO. So we can write that 1 by U is equal to 1 by HI. This R wall will be equal to 0 plus 1 by H naught. So we get this one. So here E is equal to EY is equal to UO. E is equal to EY is equal to UO because the areas are equal. We can find the overall heat transfer coefficient by finding out HI and HO, which are the convection heat transfer coefficient of the inside and the outside of the tube, by using convection relations. So this is about the overall heat transfer coefficient. So this overall heat transfer coefficient, okay, it is being dominated by the smaller convection coefficient, because the inverse of the smaller one will be a very large entity, and for the large convection coefficient the value will be less. Okay, so suppose this HI, this inside heat transfer coefficient of the inside surface is very small entity. So HI is a very small entity, so therefore this 1 by HI will be a very large quantity. and this will be very much larger compared to this 1 by HO, so that we can neglect this 1 by HO, and so this U 1 by U will become equal to 1 by HI. So you can write that U is equal to HI. So the smaller heat transfer coefficient which creates a bottleneck on the path of heat flow and seriously impedes the heat transfer. So this kind of situation arises when the one of the fluid is gas and the other is a liquid. So inside there is gas and outside there is liquid. So for that, fins are generally used on the gas side to enhance the product UAS, and thus the heat transfer on the side. So heat transfer is increased by adding fins to the surface, by increasing the surface area. So to neutralize the effect of this low heat convective heat transfer coefficient, we have to increase the surface area. Okay, by adding fins, so to enhance the product UA, and thus the heat transfer on that side. So this is about the overall heat transfer coefficient for a wall, okay, that separates the two different fluids. Here we have discussed about a cylindrical figure, a section of a pipe. So we'll continue this discussion. Okay, so for today, so this is the portion for today. So thank you.